Welcome back. My last game in the 2024 Chess.com Daily Chess Championship just ended earlier today. And I'm pretty sure that I was ahead most of the way through it, but I want to look at it just to see if we can learn something, and if nothing else, I'll do a recap for you. The game review says I played very well with no mistakes, no blunders, no misses, just one inaccuracy, and my opponent only had one mistake. I don't remember exactly where that mistake was, so let's go through the game and see if we can find out. This list says it was on move 12. My opponent opened with e4, and we played the Caro-Kann defense. We ended up with the advanced variation, to which I usually respond with c5, and they took, which, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the best responses to that. I'm surprised Stockfish says e6 here. I almost always play knight to c6 when that happens, but that's pretty close, so that's okay. They got that knight out to protect this pawn because I'm directly attacking it. Bishop to g4 is one of my better moves. And here I expected them to pin this knight, but instead they just moved the bishop there to protect this knight. The engine seems to think that's slightly better for me, but at this point in the game, I don't know how to take advantage of it. I do know I'm supposed to play e6 here once this bishop is out and they're not coming back here with their light squared bishop. Then I can play e6 to lock mine out there. If they do put their bishop over here and I haven't moved the e6 pawn yet, I can bring mine back to point there. Not that it's necessarily the best idea, but it's possible. But once they've already committed their bishop, I can play e6. Bishop to e3 is one of their top moves. It protects this pawn here, the c5 pawn, because I'm attacking it now that I've moved my e pawn. I'm pretty sure that I've been in this exact position before, and I'm trying to remember what I usually play. I don't think I normally play the queen to a5 check, although it's possible that I have. I know that if I do that and they block with the knight, well then I now have two pieces pointed at this pawn here, and then I can take it with the bishop. If they take back, I'll get their bishop as well as the pawn. That does look like it's listed as one of the best moves here. Well, what I was thinking here is that their knight's the only thing guarding that pawn, and if I take it now, I can pick up their e-pawn, and it does look like that's my best move. So that's what I played. They took back with the bishop. Oh, and I was supposed to just go ahead and get the e-pawn now. Now Stockfish has changed its mind. It's okay to do this. It's also okay to get this one out. I don't remember how I decided between the two, but I did decide to get this knight out. I know if I come up here, I can hit that bishop, or if I go over here, then I can, add another attacker to that pawn. It does temporarily keep me from getting this bishop out, but that pawn's not going anywhere just yet. I guess they could try to defend it, but I would take there. My opponent played their best move here, which is castling. And now, since they haven't made a move to defend this pawn, it says it's fine for me to take it, and I did. And now I can go either way with this knight, and I can go either way with the other knight. Not at the same time, obviously. But that is the advantage of this position. I think probably I want to move this knight, so then my bishop is hitting that. I am attacking this bishop, but I'm not going to take it because it's, it's well defended right now, and also my knight's in a fairly good spot. Now they dropped it back, perhaps worried that I was going to take it. Well, that means that I don't have to do either one of the things that I was just talking about. I can go ahead and put this knight out here, and I can have two knights side by side controlling all of those squares, not to mention those two and these two. So that's what I did. It says that's my best move, so okay, good. And now I'm threatening this bishop, which is the only defender of that pawn. There's several moves here, all of which are rated very similarly to each other. One is b5 to defend, add a defender to that pawn. Sorry, b4 to add a defender to the pawn. Another one is checking. That's their second best move. That's what they played. So I have a very slight advantage, but to me it's not clear. It looks like we're at about even. And I think I can just drop this knight back to block that check. It says that's one of my two best moves. The other one is to put it back here. I don't know if I even considered that because here I'm not only blocking the check, but I'm also keeping that pawn from moving forward. So that's why I played there. And this is my opponent's mistake. They played bishop to a4. I don't know why they played that move. Maybe in the past, when this opponent has left a bishop here, somebody has played a6 to challenge it, and they had to move back there anyway, so they decided to go ahead and move it back, where they're maintaining this pin. That's the only thing I can think of, the only reason that I would think that they would want to play this. But I also am not sure that I understand a bunch of the engine suggestions like queen to e2, queen to f3, queen to e1, queen to d3. Okay, maybe I do understand all those moves. The fifth one listed by the engine is bishop to d4. I don't understand that one because... I guess I do. Okay, I think I do, because my next move is going to be to take this bishop, if it's my turn now, right? Because nothing's defending that except this pawn. So when I take here, that gives them an isolated pawn on the e-file, opens up a little bit of a diagonal toward their king, and I've removed the only defender of their c-pawn. This means that if I take, their queen captures, my knight's pinned, so I couldn't take their queen, and their queen is now defending this pawn here. And all those other queen moves that were mentioned, here, 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 here. All of them defend the bishop. Yeah, they all defend the bishop, so that if I did take it, they could take back, and then they're still defending this pawn. That's the problem with this move. I had no idea that that was a mistake at the time. I just knew that I could take their bishop now, and when that pawn captures back, then I get their c-pawn. It does look like that's my only move that takes advantage of the mistake, so I did that. I was going to say their best move is to take back, but it's really close just to go ahead and take this knight with check. But those are the only two moves that make any sense for them. They did one of them, which I expected, but now I can take this pawn. And it's my only move that maintains the -1 here. And I'm really surprised that it says that that was my opponent's only mistake, was that bishop to a4 move, because it let me get that c-pawn. I'm just one pawn ahead here. I do have a separate video coming out that's little clips that I made every single day when I went onto chess.com to make moves in these daily games as part of this tournament. And each day I recorded a lot more of this than I needed. But anyway, I cut those down as much as I thought was reasonable and clamped them all together. That video's not ready yet, but it soon will be. And maybe somewhere in that video there's a hint as to how I went ahead here. I don't know, but my opponent did not play one of their top 5 moves, but those are all rated about the same, so this was fairly close. And if I don't castle now or somehow defend this here, it looks like, I'm in for pretty dangerous stuff. But the whole reason that I move my minor pieces out is so I can castle, so I did. It's their best move to take this knight or move their king over or play knight to a3. Yeah, the engine is suggesting some kind of odd moves. Not this one. Almost everybody that pins that knight eventually takes it at some point. Certainly at my level. I don't know about titled player level, but yeah, it suggests king to h1, queen to e2, queen to g3, knight to a3. Well, here my opponent played an inaccuracy. I obviously didn't know it at the time. They moved the c-pawn. I assume that that's so that they could reroute this bishop. That's the only thing that I could think of when I saw that move. It could also be preparing to play b4. My best move is knight to e5 to threaten the queen now. Okay, but then the queen would just move. It says e2, and then I would play queen to h4. Well, I probably wouldn't, but that's what the engine thinks is best for me right now. Since my knight's not pinned anymore, I can move it. I chose queen to b6 here because of where my dark squared bishop is. It's already pointed at this pawn, which is pointed at their king, which is I guess why it was the engine was foreseeing that and suggesting king to h1 as one of their possible moves. I assumed that they would maybe move a rook over to defend this pawn, but anyway, that's the only reason that I play queen to b6. I suppose I was also looking at this pawn, but I mean, I thought they were going to push this forward here in a second anyway, so I wouldn't be able to capture the b pawn. Again, it's my opponent's best move to take this knight. Really? Oh no, it's now saying queen to e2. Okay. I guess the reason that I'm up as much as I am is because I'm about to pick up another pawn, so it's almost -2 here. I don't know why the game review says -4. I'm just up one pawn right now, and I'm about to go up another pawn. My opponent did not see that I was aiming at their e-pawn and saw that I was aiming at their b-pawn, and they tried to protect the b-pawn by moving it up. Now I'm at -3, and it's still not my best move. Oh, yeah, for a second it was saying knight to e5 was my best move, but it's really close with taking that pawn. But yeah, knight to e5 is what it's settled on as my best move. Okay, but it's still fairly good to take that pawn. I just thought I'm picking up an extra pawn here. They're not going to take back. They're going to move their king out of check, and I've got an extra pawn. So when they moved out of check, I had to think about where to put that bishop. And my thought here was that I'm probably going to have to move my queen at some point, or I'm going to want to move my queen at some point. So I don't want the bishop to just be sitting there out in the open. The engine says knight to e5 is still my best move. I played, it looks like my 5th best move, but I just put it over here. I didn't think there was a problem with that. They can't get at it really. They don't have a dark squared bishop. The only way they can get at it is with pawns, and that's going to take a little while. Knight to e5. Well, I missed that several times. Okay, so I'm surprised that the evaluation rated me so highly. Knight to a3 is their best move. I think it's because they want to play c4 eventually. Yeah, it looks like c4 is in that line, but yeah, knight to a3, we're just taught not to put knights on the edges. a3 is among their best moves. That's what they played. So they have all these pawns in a row now, and they're all defended by something. Oh, now knight to e5 is not my best move, but I finally played it. I don't remember exactly what my idea was here other than to just threaten the queen. But I also thought they might be about to play c4, so from here I could defend that spot. Also from here, I could then move my queen over behind it to defend it if they moved to challenge it. Yeah, the bishop's guarding that diagonal, and my knight is hitting those two and these two, so I didn't know exactly where they would put their queen. But it would allow my queen to come over here and kind of line up this way. I also have the bishop, that's ready to jump into that action. I have the knight that might come over here and aim at that as well. Yeah, in this case, it was my 3rd best move when I finally spotted it. my opponent played their best move. I'm still up just -2 here because I'm up 2 pawns. So I want to give my opponent a lot of credit in this game. It says I should play f6 to defend it or queen to d6. Okay, well, queen to d6 had been my idea the whole time. I think I have that on video where I decided that. Now, granted, I don't know what I'm going to do after this at this point. I have to wait and see what my opponent played. What they played was b4. Well, what b4 did was undefend the c4 square. So I decided to put my knight on c4 for a couple of reasons. One, it blocks their c-pawn from moving. Two, it then can hop into either one of those 2 squares, which my bishop is also guarding, right? My bishop's on that entire diagonal, and from c4, my knight hits 2 of them, and so they could work together there at some point. And also, I thought maybe that's a good outpost square. Also, then, if they ever move their rook and their knight, then that pawn's toast. Might be able to fork something here in just a little bit. It does say that's my best move, and that surprises me because I think this was one of the points where I just had no idea what to do, and I said, you know what? That's a safe spot for the knight. I don't have to keep my queen here tied to defending it. What are they going to try to dislodge my knight this way? No, they're not, because so their knight can't move now. I don't think I realized that until after I played here, but really their knight is stuck. It can't come here. Obviously, their own pawns are in the way there. So that move turned out to be a little better than I thought. They're supposed to just drop their bishop back 1 here to b3. It says I would just ignore that and play a rook move. But remember earlier when I said when they moved that pawn, it might be to reroute this bishop. Well, that's what they did. Okay, well, once they did that, remember how I talked about my bishop guarding these squares that my knight can hop to? Well, now they've put their bishop in a spot where I can hop my knight to and challenge the bishop, but also be forking the rook. Well, not that one, but you know what I'm saying? My bishop's guarding here, so they're not going to take that. They're going to save the rook probably, and then I'm going to take the bishop. And I'm up 2 pawns, so I thought trading a knight for a bishop would be a good idea, especially since they have a good bishop. It's like we both have good bishops based on where our pawns are, but these pawns are all on dark squares, so that's a pretty good bishop, I thought. Also, it's aiming toward my king. That seemed like a good plan. It does say that's my best move. Okay. I thought my opponent was going to try to save the rook. It says that their best move is rook to e1, or rook to f3, or rook to f2, and then I would ignore that situation and play f5 probably, depending on where they went. What they did was move the queen here. That was a relatively, I guess, half-hearted attempt at hoping I would take the rook. Maybe that's what they thought. They thought I would take the rook and then they would checkmate. Well, I did see this. I mean, I might not have seen this in a bullet game, and I might not have seen it in a daily game a year ago, but, I'm getting better at taking the time that I have and just looking and asking, what can they do from there? Why didn't they save the rook? Wait, they've moved the queen. What is the queen pointing at? And it's pretty easy to answer that question. The engine says I should play f5 here, or rook f to c8. Wait, okay, it took me a second, but I thought, wait a minute, if I just move my rook, they're going to checkmate me. But no, they could still take that pawn, but then my king's going to get away. Okay, or rook f to d8. So moving my f rook to one of those 2 squares, or playing g6, or moving the rook here. So it says put your rook on any of those squares, or play the g pawn, or play the f pawn. Wow. Well, I had already moved the knight there, thinking I would take the rook if they didn't move it, but because of this mate threat, I just took the bishop. It says that was inaccurate, but now they can't checkmate me. Because the bishop's gone, they have to take it. And they did. Well, now I'm starting to wonder how in the world did I win this game? I know I'm up -2, but what did we just trade off all the pieces? I don't think that's what happened. I remember the end game, so how did we get from here to there is my question. I played one of my better moves. It still wasn't the best. See, I've talked about this in a lot of videos now. I still am never sure exactly which file to put the rooks on. My best move is a to c8, but I did get the right file. I just picked the wrong rook. It's a little bit worse to bring my f rook over there. My opponent played their absolute best move, which is to line back up over here. Now, because my rook's not defending it anymore. My best move is one of these 2? No, f5. f5. All right. Well, I did a couple of videos recently, including one that I got beaten soundly by a higher rated opponent where I played f5 at what I thought was the right time. And it turned out to be the turning point in the game. That's what lost me the game. Because before I played that, we were at 0.2 or 0.3. It's having trouble deciding. And then after I played this, it's close to +1. I'm not going to play f5 again for a while, so sorry, Stockfish. I did play my second best move, which is to protect this pawn with the queen because they're pointed at it. It was not my opponent's best move to play a4. I'm not sure why or what was bad about it. It says I should meet it with a5 or a6. Whoop, it's changed its mind. That's what I played. It changed its mind. After a few seconds, it probably took me about 10 minutes to decide on this move, but it says that's the best move, or one of the 2 best moves. I actually felt bad about this. I didn't know that it was the best move. My idea was to come over here because the bishop's guarding that square. That was the whole plan. How bad is that? That's pretty bad. Yeah, my idea was to go there, and if they just pushed another pawn or something, I was going to go here, and they'd have to move their queen, and then I would take their rook, because I'm up 2 pawns. So I thought if I can just trade off all these pieces, I win, because I have 2 extra pawns. So yeah, like I said, I felt kind of bad about that. I had no idea it was my best move. Their best move is a5, and it says then I would play a6. I don't know if I would have or not. My opponent played what would have been their best move about 10 turns ago, which is here, aiming at the rook. But that didn't help because I was going to move it anyway. Oh, remember when I said I was going to go here? I don't need to go over there now. They're not defending this pawn anymore. The knight was the thing defending the pawn. That's why knight to a3 is not good now. And it was my best move to take it. Okay, good. But now I can't come here and do my plan. But now I'm threatening that pawn because the c pawn's not defending it anymore. What they're supposed to play is knight to b5. I'm not sure what knight to b5 does. I mean, knight to b5 threatens my rook, but I wouldn't leave my rook there, right? I would come over here and go back to my original plan. That's what it says their best move is, and that's what they played. So I put my rook back on c4, going back to my original plan. But now they can get their other rook out, and they did. They defended the pawn that my queen was aiming at. So my opponent is playing very well. I'm up -3, and I think that's because I have 3 extra pawns. I didn't play any of those. a6 would have, I guess, kicked the knight out. It says they would have gone to there. Okay. But then I couldn't have done my plan. So I did my plan. Oh, the game review thought that was best. Let's back up. Oh, now it's listed. Oh, it moved up. It moved back down, but it's listed. It wasn't listed a second ago. Before I played it and went back, this wasn't here, but now it is. Okay, that was my original plan. I didn't know I was going to get the c-pawn, but I got the c-pawn. Now I came back. Now I'm going over. They have to move the queen, right? And it says there's a bunch of places that they can safely move it. They picked the best one, looks like, c5. They're threatening my undefended queen. Well, I did, I think, the right thing. Oh, yeah, it says I did the right thing. I checked first, because if I take their queen first, wait, it wouldn't matter, would it? Yeah, it says it wouldn't matter. Oh, man, I miscalculated this. I thought I needed to take this first, so they would have to take back, and then I would take their queen. But I just realized, yeah, it wouldn't matter. Because if I take here, they're not gonna do something silly like that, because then I get away with my queen. They're gonna take my queen either way. Yeah, it didn't matter. Okay, well, it wasn't that smart then, but you know, they're in check. They have to respond to that, and they have to respond to it by either blocking with the queen or taking with their rook. They took with their rook. I took with my queen. They took back. I'm still up -3 because I have 3 extra pawns. This pawn, I'm pretty sure, isn't getting through. Not only am I still guarding the back rank, but I have a pawn there. That pawn's not getting through, I'm pretty sure. And I have connected passed pawns in the center. I don't think they can stop that. I did want to force them to move this pawn, so I put my bishop here, which attacks that. You know, they can't defend it by bringing the rook over, so they basically either have to move it or give it up. That was what I was thinking here. It seemed pretty obvious, and it is my best move. Okay, because, you know, the pawn wasn't there a second ago, but now it is because it took my queen. And where's it's not going to go here. It says their best move is knight to d6. Oh, aiming at that pawn. Okay, that makes sense. They did play knight to d6. So, oh, it's not my best move to take. Oh, it's my best move. I could have moved over to protect my pawn and then got this one on the next turn. Well, I didn't think about that. I just thought, if I'm up 3 pawns and I take this one and they take that one, I'm still up 3 pawns. It's my second best move. Okay, so I took that. They did take mine. It was their best move by far, but now I have to move my bishop somewhere. Where should I move my bishop? I should have moved it over there or back here this way, or bishop to b4, which I guess, I don't know what that does. Then they could attack that easily with the rook. Bishop to b6. I didn't want to go to bishop to b6 because they're going to push this pawn. Yeah, they would. And then I would have to move it to e3 anyway. I just thought this here was a lot safer. Well, that's what I did. Oh, but now I'm not up -3 anymore. But it's not their best move to push their pawn. Well, not that one, but they pushed their a-pawn, which takes me almost to -4 if I'll play rook to c8. Oh, in the video I mentioned where I had clips of me every day, I considered this. Why didn't I do rook to c8 here? I don't know. But I remember considering it, but I came up with a reason not to. I think maybe what I came up with is that they were about to push this pawn it would protect their knight. So if I came here and here, you know, trying to get around, they could just protect that pawn. Maybe that's what I came up with. Well, what I decided was, I asked myself, what is my main advantage in this game? And it's these 2 pawns right here. But they're not an advantage if I don't do anything with them, right? I need to start moving them. But I don't want to move them yet. I want to move them after they're defended. So if I move this right now, it's twice protected. Their rook can't do anything to it. But then that's going to protect this, and that's going to protect this. That's why I played f6 here. And they played what I thought they were going to, which is to get this pawn as close as possible and make sure that knight's okay. I thought that was a good move at the time. But now again, it says I should play rook to c8, But I went ahead with my plan of starting to push my pawns, and now that plan is a little bit better, although it says I should have went ahead and played the D1 first before the E-pawn. Okay, that makes sense, but I played the E-pawn first because it's going to defend my D push here in a second. Their pawn is more advanced than mine, but it can't move. Are they ever going to be able to get rid of that pawn? I don't know. My opponent played their best move. I assumed trying to get in here to do something like this, but I thought if they tried something like that, I could probably protect the bishop with my king. So I went ahead and pushed the pawn. I'm up -4 now. They played their best move, which was to go after the bishop. It's my best move to move the pawn. Oh my. Okay, well, I missed that. If I moved the pawn, it says they would take my bishop. Well, I would think so. And then it says move it again, and they're going to get behind it. Wait, how is that best? It says I would then play rook to c8, and they wouldn't take my pawn. What? Sorry, I usually don't follow these out, but it says right now my best move is d3. They're going to take my bishop, which I thought they would. My best move is d2. They're going to play rook to d7. And yeah, rook to c8 is my only move here, and they're not going to take that pawn. Why wouldn't they take the pawn? Oh, because of mate. Oh my goodness. They can't take the pawn because I would checkmate them on c1. Okay, well, way back here I did not see that. Right here, I saw that they were coming for my bishop. So I thought I have a couple of things. I can move my king toward the bishop. I can move the bishop. I think those are the only two. No, I could put my rook over there, but I didn't want to put my rook over there because I thought they could move their knight and then take this pawn. So I went over here. Well, they're not attacking it. I also thought if they move their knight, which I thought they might be about to move their knight somewhere, I wasn't sure exactly, but it's not in trouble there. Plus, it can get to safety here and be protected by this front pawn. And if they ever move the knight, I can get here, threaten the rook, and come in this way. They surprised me by moving the knight where I could just take it, and I probably should have. Oh my goodness. Why didn't I take it? Yeah, I definitely should have taken the knight there because I'm up 3 pawns. But I didn't. I challenged the rook. The rook has to move. It moved to one of the squares it can go to. And I went here. My idea was not to take the knight here, but to protect this pawn and keep my bishop safe. And I thought, you know what? There's nothing they can do now. They played their second best move, which is aiming at that. And here I began to wonder if I hadn't made some sort of mistake by not trading for the knight. And apparently, I definitely should have traded for the knight. But I also thought, why not get some of these pawns closer to promotion? What are they going to do about that? There's not much they can do about it, except take it. Oops. When that happened, I thought I had made a grave mistake once again. But I can bring my king toward their knight. If they bring their rook back down to check, I can win their knight. And this also surprises me that they played their absolute best move here. I thought they gave it up. That was their best move? Oh. All those 3 are guarded by pawns. There it would be free for the bishop. Wait, moving my d-pawn was genius. I didn't realize it at the time. Okay. When I moved it, I thought, you know what, they're probably going to check me here and I'm going to get out of check. It's going to get a little dicey. And then when they took my pawn, I thought, oh no, now I'm only up 2 pawns. But yeah, their knight had nowhere to go. Taking my g-pawn was absolutely their best move, and then I get their knight for free. Well, for a pawn. So now I'm up a minor piece and 2 pawns. They checked me, I went over here. Now I understand how I won, I think. It's because I've got an extra piece, and their pawn's going nowhere, right? And I still have 1 center pawn that's connected and passed. And I'll just play through the rest of these moves. These moves all happened, I think, when this was the only game left. Everybody else had either resigned or been checkmated in my group in this tournament. And now my bishop's protecting both of those pawns. And I thought I was pretty good. Oh, it's -35? Well, I didn't know that. I say that a lot, and I usually mean it. I mean, I really didn't know I was up -35 here. I thought if I was careful, I could probably trade off some pieces. And when, you know, I wanted to trade off for that rook if at all possible. Rook to e5 was not one of those 2 there. It was down here. Should have played bishop to a5. Oh, protecting the promotion square so they couldn't get in front of it. Okay. Well, I did this thinking I could, you know, maybe protect this or, you know, something. They came toward it. Oh, I know what it was. I was trying to get this pawn. Okay, that's why I went up there. Now I remember. Okay, they got in front of that pawn, which they can't take because of my bishop, so I picked up this pawn. They went over there. I'm not sure why. I come over here threatening that pawn. I thought they were going to protect it. Here, I thought they were going to defend that pawn. That's their best move. But this isn't a mouse slip or a misclick or whatever you call it, because in daily games, you're strongly encouraged to turn on the confirm move option. So even after you move that piece and you're like, oh, that's not where I wanted to move it, then just don't click confirm move. It'll go back. And then make the move you want to. Because you spend this much time, sometimes months, on a game, you don't want to lose because of a misclick. It's a lot more important than a bullet game when it comes to time investment. But that's the move that they wanted. Yeah, I couldn't figure that out because I can just take it. Oh, it says I should have taken with my h-pawn. I didn't think, oh, I thought that would have given them a passed pawn. I just took it with my rook. Why? Why not? And now can they protect that one? Rook to h1 is one of their better moves. That's what they played. They protected that one. I started bringing the other pawn. I started bringing my king. They came around. I came up here. And here, I sat there for a long time on camera, counting down the minutes because my opponent had waited the previous couple of days until there were only 20 minutes or so left in the game to make their move. So this time I thought they were doing the same thing. I set some conditional pre-moves. I thought they go back with their king once they realize they can't come forward, then I'll move my king forward and these pawns are going. They move the rook to try to stop the pawns. I'm going to take that pawn. They move the rook and try to take one of these pawns. I'm going to trade my bishop for it. Plus I've got a whole nother passed pawn over here, which I haven't moved yet because it's what's keeping the bishop safe. But here my opponent did not come back. We counted off the minutes and I won on time. So I do want to say I'm proud of myself for playing such a good game, but I don't know that I am because I missed quite a few things according to the engine. And also I had no idea that that's the mistake. That lost them the game. You believe that? We're very, very close to even right here. And they had quite a few moves that they could have made, but they were all about defending this bishop with the queen and then still being able to defend this pawn after I took the bishop. That's a pretty high level mistake, and I cannot blame my opponent at all. They were rated quite a bit below me, 1021 to my 1300. They played a really good game if this is their only mistake. This is a high level mistake, in my opinion. And it's not a blunder. It's just a mistake because it allows me to get this c-pawn. And that's why I won. That blows my mind. Well, this video's already gone on too long, but hopefully I'll edit it down to less than half an hour. But yeah, it really boggles my mind that that's the mistake that lost them the game, because once I went up that c-pawn, I just very slowly and methodically didn't blunder anything, and then I won. And a couple of times my opponent didn't see what my idea was. And here I didn't see what my idea was until they moved that bishop. And then I thought, oh, if I trade for their bishop, they won't be defending the c-pawn anymore. So if I didn't say it yet already, then good game to my opponent, however you pronounce that. And as far as I can tell, I have won my group and I'm going to advance to round 2. So thank you for all your support. Thank you for spending your time here, and I'll see you next time.